Black like me. Black like me. Black like me.
You're listening to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G., a podcast that invites you to experience the world through the perspective of one black man, one conversation, one story, or even one rant at a time. Here's Dr. G.
Hey, good people. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G. Now listen, each time I come on, I talk to you about these exciting folks that I'm speaking with, their friends, their colleagues, their people I've researched, the people that I respect deeply. We're going international. Dr. Audrey is in town from KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. We're going to talk a little bit about how we got connected. So I have here in the studio today Dr. Audrey Mukwavi Matimelo, and she is here doing some work for her nonprofit, Zimbabwe Way To, and I am so lucky that she came in here to spend some time with me. Let me tell you a little bit about this amazing woman. Dr. Audrey has been working as a community development practitioner since 2005, and her work with self-help group concept has enabled her to effectively mobilize and engage with groups of women, like thousands of women, youth and men for social and economic development. She is a passionate advocate for self-help group concept and has traveled to India, Kenya, and Zimbabwe to implement and grow the idea. In 2001, Dr. Audrey got the opportunity to study community development. This led to her resigning her job after 10 years in the banking industry to pursue studies in the United Kingdom and later in South Africa. Dr. Audrey has successfully completed her PhD in the School of Science and Agriculture, Rural Resource Management, and was awarded a doctorate degree from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Her thesis on mobilizing rural assets for women empowerment. Her study explores various forms of poverty and focuses mainly on self-help group concepts and its impact among poor women in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Dr. Audrey, I am so glad to have you in the States, in the Midwest, in Wisconsin, in Madison, at Fountain of Life Church, and in my studios for Black Like Me podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for making this opportunity a reality for me, because I really look up to you.
Oh,
and,
my goodness.
You speak so much just to see what you've achieved, as a Black leader. So I'm greatly an admirer of your work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, you kind of get me a little choked up. In addition to all of this work, Dr. Audrey, your husband, Pastor Sinatra, you all lead a great ministry in KwaZulu-Natal. I had a chance to preach at your church, and I loved it. I have never been in an African service, in an African church, and so much of it felt just like Black culture and felt like Black church. But you all were so warm, and then you threw a gathering for my group in your home, and we had a chance to relax with you all. And so I just appreciate your hospitality, and I hope that we come close to showing the kind of hospitality that you and Pastor Sinatra share with my group.
It was great to have you. Just the message that you brought spoke to us a lot. It was a prophetic message, quite timely for us as a church as we're transitioning into another space, because we were living a place where we thought it was where we were supposed to be doing church. And then we had to move, and we're not finding that space for us to move again as a church. But when you spoke about transitioning, you spoke to us as in so powerful. The message was so powerful, and it enabled us as a church to look at the Jabez story in a different light.
Oh, my goodness.
So thank you so much.
Listen, I love being there. Hey, for those of you, who don't know much about the Black church experience, we really have not explored, we being Black people, the connection between the church in Africa and the church in Black America. And when I was there preaching, I knew that one of my friends, he's Korean American, was going to be doing a workshop later that afternoon, and people had gathered from several other nations to hear him speak. And inside my sermon, I said, don't feel like you need to sit at the feet of Western theologians, because these same theologians taught us that we were 3/5 of a person, and that Africa was forsaken, and that we were cursed. That whatever strength or spirituality I have, I'm drawing from Mother Africa, from the faith traditions that we carried across during the transatlantic slave trade. We brought with us from West Africa, that gave us a deep sense of connection with God and each other and culture. And so, to the extent that you recognize anything else, anything powerful in me as a Westerner, you must recognize that this came from you all. I broke down and started crying inside my sermon as I thought about our struggle with colonialism and slavery, and then the struggle with my brothers and sisters in the room with apartheid, being in South Africa. And asking the pastoral leaders to pray for me and the Black leaders from my group was a very, very powerful moment that I think fuels me, Dr. Audrey, in the work that I return back here to do. So please tell your leaders, and particularly Pastor Sinatra, we are deeply moved by not only the hospitality, but the way in which you all encouraged us spiritually. And that bond that we built was very powerful, that I want to be a part of a movement that unites churches and faith leaders from all over Africa, and those and Black leaders and from America, because I think we can do some powerful things together.
Great. We
Yeah.
feel the same. We feel the same. We feel greatly the same. My husband is trying to communicate with you on the way forward, and how he sees our participation in the bigger family, and the network that you are creating between our brothers and sisters over here in the United States, and ourselves in Africa, and how we can relearn from the past and find God as Black people, and
Yes.
allow God to speak into us, our families, as well as our communities. And it was so
love it.
powerful to pray together like that, and also to mourn over the injustices through what has been
Yes.
spoken,
Yes.
and drawn us apart,
Yes.
and just to
Yes.
move and heal and see the reconnection in a different
Yes,
light and
yes.
form. So
Ah,
yeah, looking
that's
forward.
powerful.
And when I just look back each time I come here, I see that Center for Black Excellence. I'm like, yes, this is it.
This is it.
Yeah, so there's a lot to learn. And as much as you say you saw a lot and we've been inspired a lot across, coming over to Africa, we are inspired with what God is doing in your life as well. And
I
so
love it.
there's a lot to share. And let's see how God shapes us and moves us forward,
Definitely.
and just unlocks that power that is within.
Definitely. I can't wait. So you all, listen, I met Dr. Audrey several years ago when a friend who's been a guest on the show a couple of times, Pastor Peter Hahn, invited me to South Africa. I backed out the first time he asked me because I'm afraid of shots. And so I didn't want to get the shots to go. Then I thought, okay, I'm being a baby. I get a chance to do something that I've always wanted to do. And so he took me 2009, I think. And when I hit the ground and was in the motherland, it had an emotional impact on me that I didn't expect. I got a chance to meet Dr. Audrey at that time, and saw the tremendous work that's happening in South Africa. And I won't get into the details because I want to ask her about it so that you can hear it from her. But I just returned with the group. It was 11 of us. We returned in February. That was my fourth trip to see Zimbabwe. And every time I go, Dr. Audrey, it gets better and better and better. And getting a chance to see some of the evolution of some of the folks I've met over the years, like Ma Zuma, and see, and we'll talk about her a little bit later, but her growth. And then who's the young lady who has the bed and had the bed and breakfast? We saw her at Ma Zuma's house.
That's Tanda Pakati.
That's right.
Yes.
So just to see her growth over the years, to go back and still recognize people has just been really fantastic. So let's just jump into this because people want to know what Zimbabwe Way 2 is, and just what draws you for doing this kind of work of empowering. You work with youth and men, but I feel like you're really known for the empowerment work with women. So tell me a little bit about what was your inspiration for creating this nonprofit?
The inspiration of creating the nonprofit comes from my personal life, because I, like all the other African people, have been made vulnerable by circumstances around me. I
Yes.
lost my mother and my father first. My father first, when I was 19 to HIV and AIDS. And at that time in the 90s, it was something that you never talked about. So
Right.
it was a silent killer, as well as it couldn't be named, and it was a silent shame. So as a child, watching your parents go through a shameful journey, which everyone else is talking about, and then there was fear because when it struck, it was like all of us were going to die. So I suffered fear of death too because I didn't know whether I was positive or not myself. And then seeing my father deteriorate, and it raised a lot of questions. My father was a believer at that time. And then being a reverend in a church, and it was like, how did he get it? So you wondering whether something not right that your parent did, and then the shame of carrying that because I was older, more than a teenager, So I understood exactly what was going on. I heard, though I never accepted. So it wasn't something that you'd accept happily because it brought shame and you knew that the parents were dying. So I watched my father die and I saw my mother suffer alone. And all of us were seeing. I come from a family of 9 children and the oldest.
The oldest of 9.
The oldest of 9.
Wow.
And then I had to take up the role of working alongside my mom to look after my siblings. So it's in the space of stigmatization,
Right.
space of shame, space of fear, and then responsibility as a 19-year-old. I stood up.
Lord.
And my dad, he was just not an ordinary man. I loved him. We had this. He was my hero.
Yes.
He adored me. I was his girl, a
Yes.
daughter that he adored so much.
Yes.
And he was so proud of me. He encouraged me with my academics. He walked around with whatever success I made. He would go out and show off to people my achievements. But then my hero was taken away, but not taken away in a dignified way,
Yes.
but in a shameful way. So I rose up as a warrior to fight for the survival of my mom and myself within stigmatization.
So you took your own pain and allowed it to fuel this fantastic work in South Africa. But you weren't living in South Africa at the time. I mean, you grew up in Zimbabwe.
Zambia?
Zambia. I'm sorry.
Yes. So I grew up in Zambia. So it's a story of pain and a story of hope.
Yes.
Yeah, because one of the assets that my dad left me, I was raised in a church. He wasn't a Christian through his life, but I went to Sunday school even before he became a Christian. So I learned about Jesus. I became a Christian. I accepted him as Lord and Savior before my father became a Christian. I prayed for him, and he became a Christian one day, and then he discipled me. So he left me in a church, not only a church, but also faith. So that faith gave me resilience because we prayed. We had time to pray. Unfortunately, we never named the disease that we were suffering from and prayed over it. So we never named the disease. So the silence over that. But then we prayed about other things. We prayed and believed God for bigger things. And then he also left me as an affirmed daughter, because I come from a patriarchal system whereby daughters are not valued. They are not like... they'll carry on the lineage of the family because they get married. And so I wasn't, casually, I'm not an asset in any way, but my dad saw me as a brilliant child. And that affirmed me because I had potential at school, and then I had the faith. And he also affirmed me as the first daughter, so he gave me more responsibility. So
Sure.
I became like, yeah, I can do this, despite what was happening. So that resilience that I had. And then he also empowered my mom because my mom never finished school, but she allowed her to have a form of skill, and she was a tailor. So she had a skill. My mom would make clothes. And so mirroring my life, because of the journey that I took, and the excellence that I had in my academics, when the banks were calling for interns, I was recruited. And bringing that, despite what was happening in my life and everything, the resilience within my faith and affirmation allowed me to perform well at work. So I was promoted at work. I took up my academic ability. I did evening classes. So when I did evening classes,
Wow.
I got a diploma in accounts, and within the bank, I was able to become and be promoted as a supervisor. So I became a supervisor in the bank. And the money that I was earning and everything had to feed and support mom with the rest of my siblings at home. So that responsibility and the fulfillment of bringing to the family kept me going.
Wow.
But I couldn't continue with my studies because we didn't have money for me to go to school. Despite what my dad left, it wasn't enough for the 9 of us and a very, very sick mom. So the faith and affirmation and resilience made me move on and live within the circumstances and strive and better my education. So at the time that I was within that, then I met my husband when I was so at 19. I lost my dad, who was that affirming person
Right.
in my life. Then I found my husband at 22. So I found my husband at 22, and he became a genuine friend, a supportive, who he is even up to now.
Yes.
So that just, and then he wasn't just interested in me as his girlfriend at that time or a girl he would hang out with, but he loved me holistically such that he came and stepped into my family, my mom, my sick mom. So he was the first person that I
Amazing.
introduced my sickly mom, who was suspected and stigmatized to, and yet he accepted my mom, he accepted my circumstances, he accepted my siblings, and that was good to have a community that supported me at that moment, and he became that community together with his church. So I moved in, and I was in this church for the first time that embraced me with dignity. So other than the dignity that my parents left me with, I moved into a community that embraced me and supported me for my faith and respected my relationship. And again, I got another level of affirmation. Within that, we started, when we got married, and when I was 25, we got married, we started pastoring a church. And the same, I could see HIV had not ended, and then people were losing jobs. I was working in a bank. And so I saw myself living like a double kind of standard life. When I'm at a bank, I was expected to make decisions that favored people who were doing well, people who were economically sound and stable.
That
But
was
those
your
that
job.
were poor, I had to tell them, oh, sorry, you have no collateral, you can't have the money. And then at church, I had to look at the needs of the poor and the vulnerable. I knew their stories, but the institution where I served told me
Wow.
not to consider those that did not have collateral to meet what they were asking for. So within that, then I saw NGOs coming into the community, coming into the country, nonprofit organizations that were responding to the needs of the people. But then I also saw them as disempowering because being an orphaned and vulnerable child, I didn't want to be grouped, or my siblings to be grouped to, oh yeah, we are making soup kitchens for these people. Like, we don't have what to give. When I knew that I was loaded, I'm intelligent, I can lead. And so I'm not that vulnerable to receive charity, but I just want companionship to journey with me to a place where I can fully unlock my potential and live a life with dignity. So I didn't like the sorry person, soup kitchens. When I looked around, I was like, no, I don't want to queue up for that. I want people to recognize me for who I am. And so when I saw that, I started looking at how can I do something that would dignify? Because at work, people who did not have were not dignified. They were told to go out because they didn't have what it meant to bring on the table to negotiate for a better life. And then I started looking at it and said, is there something that can dignify the poor? Is there a way in which the poor can have resources in a dignified way? And so, by God's grace, through the younger friends that my dad had, they pointed me to an organization that gave scholarships. And I was like, okay, let me go and do that. I had to resign with my husband. So we agreed because it was an opportunity, because my husband understood that I'm a gifted person with intellectual capacity, not just this orphan or this woman, but a person who has capacity which can be supported. And so he resigned too, and we packed our bags, and that's how I went. So this is an empowering man in my life, an empowering father, an empowering man that I found
I
again.
knew he was special. I could tell that from him.
So I studied, and I found something that was called community development. Then I looked at it and I said, okay, this is it. So I have to understand it better. And that's how I pursued my studies. When I came to pursue further, I moved from the UK because of policies that could not allow my husband. Remember, we are poor people who have no assets to make us stay in Africa. So when we went out there, we were told, come on. So how are you moving in? So that was my husband moving, our daughter moving. So my husband and my daughter were denied visa, so we couldn't go across. And so I had to stay away from my family because I had stepped out to unlock the potential that was in me, but then I could not have my family stay with me. So that became like a stumbling block for my pursuit to a better life. And so we relooked at again, the resilience kicked in. We prayed, and then we also sent out applications. And that's how we found ourselves, myself being accepted at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Oh yeah, now let's change. And within that, we got scholarship. And so that's how I found myself in South Africa.
That's how you got, I never knew that was how you got to South Africa.
That's how I got to, the journey was, let's go to the UK and pursue a better opportunity of education. But now I couldn't go with my family. So I had to go back and rewrote. I've been disadvantaged first. Because of death through a calamity of HIV/AIDS, I've been stigmatized. I tried to wrestle this. I got to study. Again, in the environment where I'm going, it is not helping my people. The people that I feel we need to uplift them and come and integrate. Those that have and those that do not have can all thrive in what is there. But then it's not working, and I feel, no, there should be another way that, yes, I should have, but we should have it all so that we can all thrive. So now I go there, I cannot bring my family and be complete. So resilience pushed. We went to South Africa. When we went to South Africa, I went to this church that I was fellowshipping in, and they were doing all this community work, and I'm like, wow, I like something that they're doing. But then I had to study further. After my studies, I wrestled with development principles like asset-based. And then that just sat with me, human capacity. And I felt, a human has got capacity. A human is loaded with potential, And I was reflecting, I did it in theology and development. So I was reflecting on how God has created a person as a full human, a person who can reason, a person who can do, a person who can act and hope and believe. So
listen, I'm learning stuff about you I didn't even know. That's such a good background, Dr. Audrey. Now I've got so many questions for you. So let me just start firing some of these at you. The group that you lead, that you founded, is Zimele Wetu. What does that mean? What does Zimele Wetu mean?
Zimele Wetu means our self-reliance. So it is rooted in I am because we are.
Wow.
So it's a community kind of well-being. So I can thrive because you are present in my life, and together we can do this.
That sense of community does that.
Yes, so it's a warrior approach to let's move, let's go, and let's overcome the barriers that are around because we can do it.
And you said it's a warrior approach?
It is a warrior because
I like that.
A warrior, it's not in the negative way.
No. I love it.
Yeah, but it's in the fighting spirit to arise above the circumstances.
Sure.
And so let's do it. And it works well because this is in a Zulu culture. The Zulu culture it's historically, the king was a great king, Shaka Zulu. He was a warrior. He was resilient in his time. He fought to build his community and his kingdom. But then there are so many kingdoms that we fight for. There's a physical kingdom, there's a personal kingdom, because you need to be established. Like I said, we are all fully packed and loaded, but the environment around us keeps us talking us down, keeps us pushing us down and calling us names and stigmatizing us and trying to take away that resilience within us. But then we can arise again and build.
And that's what Zimele Wetu is.
That Zimele Wetu signifies
that. Let me ask you something. You got so much stuff in here, Dr. Audrey. You have to write a couple of books. And so there's so much that I know that our folks are going to hear from you. One of the things I love when I came to see your work this time and the last time was the support programming that you have for women, particularly with the investment groups. I know that started with just a handful of groups, and then there are now how many women in these support groups or investment groups? How many women do you think are part of your network?
Well, currently we have more than 400 self-help groups, and this is 10 to 20 women in one group.
So we're talking anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000.
Yes, they are over 6,000, 7,000.
So, and I watched this, and one of the things that floored me is that when I was with you a few months ago, some of the women are just investing 50 Rand, which is probably about 29 cents in U.S. currency. But when the financial secretary was reporting the total bank or total dollars that's raised in those 400 groups, she said it was 171,000 U.S. dollars. I can't think of any investment groups that would let poor Black women come in and invest as little as 20 or 30 cents. And I also noticed in previous visits, you would let women take the pot of money home, because there's no bank right down the street where you go make a deposit. So these women would take the money home. They would compute interest by hand. We actually had to pay some fees because we were late getting, and so there's a fee for being late. I was just floored by the way you lived out true asset-based community development. But it's grown beyond just one group or two groups of women doing this. And I know that as we look at the work of Zimbabwe, there are 3 phases, the final one of which is being like a federation. What does it mean to get to that final level? So what does it mean that you've collected groups that make up a federation? Can you just explain what that federation is and how you got there? And then I just have a couple of questions around that for you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for your observation with the work that we do. So I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to start from the federation. When we reach the federation, it's having constructive dialogue with the policymakers.
Wow.
So it's a bottom-up approach because you want a link with what the policies of the country are because the country or governance is supposed to link and meet the needs of the people themselves.
Right.
Now, to get to government is for the people, by the people themselves. It's spoken so much over time. But to build the people to feel this governance is for us and made by us, they need to participate. So, but then how do they get there after being disadvantaged, like in the context of South Africa? How do they get there? They have to heal, they have to be mobilized in a way that they can dialogue in a constructive way. So the federation would have the power of more than 1,200 people in a community, you might call it a county here, who can now align their dreams and passion to what is available. Now, when you go back and start looking at how we build it to that level where they can now dialogue, we're calling it dialogue because now they can sit at the table and reason to say whether this policy is working for them and how best they can input and how best they can align their aspiration with what government has put in place. So how do we build to get to that? When so much has happened, we have to affirm the person. So we go door to door. That is the first level. So the first level that you found as a self-help group, it's like, arise and let's go and build. You are okay where you are. So whether so much things has happened, like my story, let's get together. Like I would put like in the face of, I was a child in that point, but now you have a mother. So you have this person who has gone through so much pain and they feel excluded. And now you are calling them to inclusion. So it's a transition of, yes, we're excluded by circumstances, by natural disaster, by systems of injustice. You can come to the table again. So we go mobilizing door to door. 10 to 20 people get together. Now they have to relearn trust. They have to feel, okay, where I was stigmatized, whether it was a disease or anything, I'm okay with these people. So there's healing that happens in those small groups. So they learn to trust each other. They learn to open up and share their pain and their joys. They start learning also to share their skills and abilities because, like I said, every person has got abilities. Now, if you're talking in a Zulu culture, they do craft. They start relearning how to farm because that was traditional happening. But then it's not only for them to reconnect as socially to get a social network of support. Nowadays, money comes to the table. So how do they now become economically included? So with the little that they have, you're not going to ask them to bring what they do not have. I worked in a bank, and that's why I believe so much in small monies, because if you didn't balance up a coin in the bank, it would reflect to say, oh, you are out of this. So a coin or a cent is valued. And so we have to believe the small seed in order to participate in the bigger economies.
Man, oh man, is it crazy out here. And I don't think it's just me. Look, it's 2025. Trump is back in office, and some days it seems as if the sky is falling. There's so much uncertainty in the world right now, but I love that sitting down right here in front of this mic and letting the hard truths rumble out of my heart and off my chest is as certain as it ever was. Season 11 is gathering steam, and you're in for a real treat. Let me just tell you. When I reflect back on all of the seasons that we dropped here at Black Like Me podcast, each of them has had a special purpose, a one-of-a-kind lineup of guests, and its own unique feel. I also think about the thread that binds them all together. What we do here at Black Like Me is unique. I don't have another space that feels just like this, where I can really speak from my unique perspective. And the guests who have on the show remark that these interviews they do here are unlike any others that they've done in other places. Sure, nobody else does Black Icebreakers, but that's only part of it. We have created a truly unique space here where honest conversations about the thoughts, the ideas, the policies that affect Black people and that Black people care deeply about. And you know what? It isn't easy. And I don't do this all alone. I have an incredible team that has steadily grown over the years, and each person that joins adds another asset to what we can do here. And all of you that support us on Patreon, my people, my people, my people. We simply would not be able to do what we do or get what we have gotten without you. So as we look to even bigger and better things in the coming season, please help support the show right now by clicking the link to Patreon in the show notes and join the community of people supporting this unique and provocative space. In the world that we're living in, where there's so much attack on our perspectives, our history, our bodies, and our lives and contributions, aren't you glad you have a place where you can still hear powerful, exhilarating, intellectual Black thought like you do? I enjoy it. And so if you do too, share the good news, tell friends, click that Patreon link now. Thank you so much for your support of Black Like Me podcast with Dr. Alex G. Let me ask you, who trains the women to go door to door? Because you can't go to every door. So is that part of your work? Do you train the trainers? Do you train the trainers who train the trainers?
Yes, we do.
How do they get to? So you train people to train the women to go door to door and to organize?
Yes. So first of all, we'd go through the leadership of the community. We identify a community, and we look at how it is organized, the structures which are there, and then we introduce ourselves and the concept that we have. So once we've done that, we've introduced ourselves, and then we go in through the leadership. We call a community meeting, and then we present about this is what is possible to happen. When you are mobilized in groups, you can have the power in numbers. So what you need is you've been disadvantaged, you've been excluded, you need to gather the power in numbers. But not only the power in numbers to get together socially, but the power in numbers with what you have. You are an asset, yourself as a human being, and then you are together assets with other human beings. I am an asset, and we are together as a community of assets. That's the way we are with what we have and the intellectual abilities and all those things that we have. Then again, in as much as you are poor, you have assets. You have your home, the little that you have, you can bring it together. Even when you do not have the money, you have the sense that you have. The first group that we started with in 2007, in the currencies in South Africa, they used to save 50 cents.
Wow.
So 50 cents is less than, nowadays, it's less than $1, very much less than $1. Even up to now, they are saving something that is less than $1. They are saving 5 rands. And so $1 is equivalent to 18, it should be 18 rands, is it?
Right,
yes,
right.
18 rands. So if they're saving 5 rand, it's less than $1. So on a weekly basis, and then the regular
So these groups meet weekly?
Yes, they meet weekly because you cannot have a relationship built when you are not meeting regularly. So you are right in the face of your neighbor, and you have to know them better. And then you are also intentionally aggressive to gather the little that you have so that you can attain your goals and aspirations. So in these small groups, they'll bring the little that they have. And then money comes in. Money should have a plan and goals. So we train them again to be dreaming over these resources that they have.
Dr. Audrey.
So
I'm floored. I see it, but to hear you describe it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, so they start dreaming. They're dreaming on little money. And we build those dreams, and they see the money happening. Then we start training them on small businesses. So what can you see? What are the advantages? What are the local opportunities that you have?
So they assess the communities.
They
to understand
assess the community. What is there? Then they look at the schools. Oh, the schools, they do have lunch breaks. They do have breaks in between, like tea break. What can we sell there? Oh, yes, we can bake scones and we can sell them at the school. So they start opening small stores at the schools. So they go and sell.
For the students and the teachers?
Yes, as well. So they do bake. They know that they are women and they can cook. So whatever they can cook, that is a skill that they always practice in their homes and expect it to cook for family, but they can generate money out of it.
And they do.
Yes, and then they do give pocket money to their children, the little that they have. So the 1 rand, 50 cent sweets, and now they start doing that. And what can they import to the community that is not there? So they start trading. So they start importing sweets, which they cannot make. So they go and buy and then come and sell in the. So some of the things they can make, they can harvest from their fields and sell, and some of the things they have to buy from outside.
Did you create this concept, or is this part of what you studied when you were in India or Kenya? Is this concept something you developed in grad school? Where did the idea come to build community and develop community this way? Because it's brilliant.
I started, and some of it, when I look back, it's my life experience. I was brought up in a community of selling and buying.
Okay.
And so my grandmother she used to sell anything. She would harvest groundnuts, she would sell. And so when my husband and I had the burden of raising my children, I call them my children, right. My siblings, because some of them moved into my house. 5 of them came to stay with us. We didn't have money to feed them. So we had a deep freezer because we had to keep some of the meals, like the leftovers, to eat the following day. But even what we kept could not fill up a deep freezer. Instead of buying a fridge, it was too expensive. So have a freezer where you can freeze whatever you leave. And then we looked at it and we said, it gets very hot. And what did we do? We just got tap water, froze it, put it in plastics, and we're selling. And people were buying. So we just felt, okay, so it's working. And we could have money, so you can sell water, You don't have to get still water in bottles and all that. Just put it in a plastic. And so we sell. Yeah. So it was buying and selling, and I could see money, how you can earn money out of that. Then you have second-hand clothes. You just wash them, iron them. There's another person. So instead of just passing them on, we used to have second-hand stores. So I do that. and you could
Yes.
buy bells and things like that. So in South Africa, when I saw that it's a community that wasn't exposed to entrepreneurship at that level,
Of course.
I saw that was an opportunity to encourage them to look at the gap. So I learned the concept through, of course, going to India and seeing it where it's been the self-help group concept where it's been implemented, but each context is different.
Yes, it is.
But then I bring in my experience. I also look at the people that I'm working with and then what they haven't been exposed to and expose them to those opportunities. So the spiral of learning and being entrepreneurial, it's based on exposure. So it's always relooking, what opportunities do we have? What are there for imports in terms of bringing in, and
brilliant.
also what is there to
It's
export in terms of what we have.
How many federations have you developed?
Successfully, we developed one federation. It was a learning space for us. We developed one federation.
And how many people were in that federation?
There were 1,200, yes. But yeah, over time we developed that. But then because it wasn't fully mature, like the people who were there, it wasn't sustainable over a long period of time.
But still, the work to organize it and learn
The
from
work
it.
to organize it and learn from it was amazing because we've had even other. That was the first federation of a self-help group that was launched in South Africa. It was launched through my work and being involved. And right now we've got 2 potential federations. So before we get to federation, so we start with a self-help group, which is looking at a human being as an individual, getting healed together with others, meeting regularly and building a seed of money. Then they transition into a community-based organization. So before you get to a federation, which is looking at policies, it first has to look at affirming and strengthening an individual as a human who's fully an asset to themselves and an asset within a community of other people. Then you move into, yes, I've been affirmed. I can now provide for myself. I can work with others. Then you look at the environment. Who else has been left out? Because the power is in numbers. The power is not only being affirmed as an individual, but being a community that is affirmed. So they look at their abilities, and these are collective. So you have 8 to 12 of self-help groups with their different areas of abilities. And then they stream themselves into groups. So under the cluster, you have those that are passionate for responding to the community through to provide education opportunities. So they'll start daycare centers because they want to stimulate young children into preparing them for school. So they'll start daycare centers, and that's where they'll be doing early child education in the basic way, where they teach them the alphabet, they teach them routine. And so they are preparing them. They themselves never had the opportunity to have that, but they see that it is valid.
Sure.
And then also it's a safe place when they are responding to other issues, growing issues of abuse. It's a space where children can be safely kept from all those things. So I love this self-help group concept because it doesn't just look at the individual thinking about themselves and the best they can get from life, but it also intergenerational, intentionally. So the second phase looks at what would my community be like? So you dream for yourself in a self-help group. In a second phase of a cluster level association, you dream about what would be my community be like. I want to thrive, but I want to thrive with my community. So they start addressing issues that are making their community vulnerable. They start creating jobs. So you start things like computer schools for after-school youth who cannot be employed. So they start creating an opportunity where they can learn a skill that can make them have more chances of being employed, or where they can promote other levels of skill building and create a job. They do pay the teachers, like Tanda you are talking about. Tanda was running, or Cecile running a computer school where they themselves, out of that, the parents or the guardians of the youth are able to pay, and they're able to raise money. They are also doing agriculture. So you have an agriculture stream which is not only for the women themselves, but it's also for the youth that are coming up. And everyone has got a stomach, so you never go wrong with food.
So it goes from a support group for the individual to the community development group to the federation.
To the federation. So it's like, I've done enough as an individual.
Right.
We've done enough as a community. Who else is responsible over the citizens or the people of this community? We know you have a budget. We know you have policies. We've done what we can as individuals. We've gotten together and put our power together, and we've used our resources in the community. So can we now talk about how we can align the development goals and policies so that we can be a huge nation?
See, that is brilliant. Can you take just a few moments, maybe like 2 moments, just tell us the story of Mama Zuma? Because when I met her, she was a grandmother, a go-go, who I believe was working in a daycare. And just through your concept, just tell us like where her level of influence has gone. Because I don't want to get out ahead of you, but she was a participant in the programs. So she was an investment group. Was Mazuma in an investment group at one time?
Yes.
And then when did she come onto your staff? When did you hire her? Or start mentoring her? Like, how did she get involved with you?
Oh, Mama Zuma, thank you for picking that. Mama Zuma is like, if you ask whether the self-help group works, and she is a living testimony of that. Yes. And then when you see, if at all I'm to look at what have I done, it's not the PhD that I've produced, but it's the Mama Zuma that is living, that I've, by God's grace, that I've been able to build.
So when she started, Dr. Audrey, basically she had nothing. She was growing just like with a lot of people who lacked resources in the community. You took me to her house. We walked to her house there. How many buildings on her property? 4?
I think there are 4, and they keep growing because she keeps adding rooms.
Right, and then I saw all her chickens.
Yes.
And then she was showing us the chickens and the pride that she had walking us around. This, first of all, the view is beautiful. The countryside is beautiful. And but she also has some political influence too. Tell me about the role she has with the tribal council.
It's amazing. Mama Zuma, she's grown into this dynamic woman through the self-help group concept. Like I would say, just like rooted in the history of South Africa, by the time when I met her, she was like all the other women who've been widowed due to other things, and they've also gone. And also they've also gone through the history of apartheid and the pain of forceful removal. And Mama Zuma was one of those women. And so when I met her as just an ordinary woman who is struggling, you know, economically, socially, and also with the burden of raising her children. She has 5 children.
Yes.
You know. So when I met her, she came to the self-help group, and she belongs to a self-help group which is Saving Even Up to Date. Wow. And through that, she started, you know, it was, when you look at her home, she never had a garden. She never farmed, and yet she had land. Mm-hmm. But when she came to the self-help group, she started farming, and that's the first 2007, that was the first activity that we saw, and I remember taking photos of her. She made something like 400 rand, which is when you divide, maybe it should be about $20 or so.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. And we celebrated that. And then she saw that she had a house, a room, a rendezvous, you know, made out of mud and all that. And so she brought that asset for the dreams of the youth, to have a computer school. So when I talk about the computer school, so in her cluster, so from a self-help group, she belonged to this cluster that was reaching out to vulnerable children.
Wow.
And now her passion was around the vulnerable youth. And now so her cluster thought about, why don't we have a computer school? So she surrendered one of her hats, and they started a computer school there. And from that computer school...
Is that the one that's right next door to her house?
Yes.
So I remember seeing that.
Yes, but then she has a modern one that you saw, that the one that we sat in recently.
Yes.
That wasn't like that. That one was a mad rendezvous. So when she saw that rendezvous, she saw an opportunity. Here, the youth were coming here. Then she started selling, she started more like donuts, traditional, we call them maguinas, donuts to the students. So she has a garden, and then she sees these children whom she's volunteered around Rwandaville. They want some lunch as they are learning. So she opened one of the windows in her main house, and she was selling like a tuck shop. So she would be selling, and when it's too hot, I saw her selling ice cream as well. I'm like, okay, so she's seeing an opportunity. In her generosity, she also saw the opportunity, you know. So I was like, oh yeah, that's Mama Zuma doing that. Out of that, her participation in her cluster, which cared for the vulnerable in the community, because that was the first movement by the local women to look out at other vulnerable people in the community. So they were noticed that the women were busy moving in the community, taking details of vulnerable children, gathering from her garden. All the other members of her cluster would harvest whatever they could harvest, and they started looking after a community of vulnerable people. I know. Maybe you met Naughty. Naughty, she was the one who was organizing the children in the activities that you saw. So that's a member of staff. She was one of the first vulnerable children that were looked after by Mama Zuma's cluster.
And now she's a
She's
leader.
a member of staff, and now she's looking after 800 vulnerable children that the women are taking care of. So from this, in 2012, from this child who was a vulnerable beneficiary growing into a young woman that can give back to the community through Mama Zuma. So it's Mama Zuma prospering. I am, because we are with other women. And then she's also looking at I am to provide and build. And so you see a Naughty
being part of
the
community
that she's working in.
Now, when we went to meet the tribal chief, and what was his name? Can we say that on the air?
Yeah, he is Chief Kumisa.
And so when we went to meet him, Mama Zuma went in to bring him out. I mean, was she the bridge? Did I read that right? Was she the bridge or the connector in helping that to happen?
Yes. So as they did that, you're right, she was the bridge. So as they were doing that, reaching out, they became noticed. And Mama Zuma was noticed. And during the time, so that is the son of the late Chief Kumisa.
Right.
So the late father to the chief that you saw was part of the leadership, traditional leadership that identified the efforts of Mama Zuma's group. So they invited two of them from two different clusters. So Mama Zuma was coming from Tembanani Yetu cluster, and then there was another lady who was still serving, who was also coming from the self-help group. And so these ladies were embraced to work together with the chief.
Had that ever happened before?
No.
Where women were working with the chief?
No, it's not common to see that, and I haven't seen that happen. So it's because of what they were doing and the community and the healing and being the hands that are fulfilling the mandate of the leadership. The leadership is supposed to care, to uplift, and to ensure that people are living a better life. And so the ability within Mama Zuma, so the Mama Zuma became a traditional leader, part of the traditional leader, and became the bridge. And even up to now, I've learned from Mama Zuma on you were asking, how do we go into communities? We go with Mama Zuma in front. And so she's leading, and we go and talk to the chiefs. Now you're talking about women empowerment. It's a subtle way of lifting a woman.
And political empowerment. I mean, when you're influencing the chief, that's major, because remember, our driver, who was male, was showing us, like, we had a procedure. When women went to the left, men went to the right. You all coached us on what to say, how to bow. Like, you want to observe the customs. But he was very nervous because he had never met the chief. But yet Mama Zuma let them know that we were there, and he came out with his wife, and of course he knew her. That just was amazing, because I remember, again, like I said, she was in the empowerment program. She was one of the go-go's that were helping in the daycare, because I think you had me speak at one of the daycares. Yes. I got a chance to speak there. But to see her bridging American visitors, Western visitors, with the local chief as a woman, as an older Black woman who in the United States could be overlooked. but because of your programming and because we exist and succeed because others are. We are because others are around us. The way you live that out is just amazing. I'm just curious, are you aware of the fact that that is not how we do things in the United States? We would not let a poor woman take the cash bag home. We would not, our folks don't know how to calculate interest by hand. Our children don't learn how to read cursive anymore. And this work is just, it's just really, really amazing. And part of my desire in talking with you, Dr. Audrey, is not so merely you can tell your story, but I'm learning from you. As we build this Center for Black Excellence in Culture, during future trips, I want you to teach not just women and men who are participants, but community leaders and politicians and business leaders, because what you're doing, we don't believe can be done. Not only do we not listen, the trust, the dignity of listening to what the community is saying, we don't trust them and give them responsibility. And so we make them perpetual beggars. And we make them professional beggars. And so we give them money on the first of the month, but we don't support innovation. And so I want you to know, and I say this in sincerity, the things I see you doing, what you build without many resources, or they come through relationships and they don't have the strings attached like governmental dollars, it amazes me. I think I was on my third trip to Zimbabwe. And I was watching what you all were doing. This is when I first started learning about really understanding the investment circles. And I said to myself, wow, if I have an idea and a major funder, like in our community, it might be United Way or some of the governmental agencies, if they don't give a thumbs up and like your idea and don't fund it, the idea goes away. We don't just say, well, I'm just going to go find another way. I'm going to sell frozen bags of ice, or I'm going to sell. We let the ideas go. I was with you at touring Zimbabwe sites, and I said, I've sold my soul. I don't respect my creativity as a gift from God. So if a funding circle doesn't support it, I let it go. I'm going to hold to my ideas. And if I don't get general funding, if it's the right idea, funding will come. That changed my whole idea of how I go about my work. You talk about the center that exists next door, the Center for Black Excellence in Culture. I raised $30 million during the pandemic when funders told me it wouldn't be done. People are coming back to my fundraising consultant and to me saying, I have to apologize to you. I told you this couldn't be done, and I tried to talk you out of it. Look what you've done. Look what you raised. But what they don't know is that the decision to believe the dreams, even if the power brokers don't support it, was really affirmed in my heart in South Africa, in KwaZulu-Natal, sitting around with you and people who are doing the unimaginable with so little resources. It inspired me to come and do the work that I'm doing. So when it's built, I need you to come and talk to our community and to talk to our Black leaders and help us think about how we rebuild our societies based upon what you have demonstrated so wonderfully in KwaZulu-Natal. What you are doing is absolutely amazing. I'm surprised they're not coming after you trying to make you run for political office. And don't let them. Don't let them. Although I think you'd be a good. Well, I shouldn't say that because I think you'd be a good politician. But you're so effective in the communities. We see all of this fruit. Tell me what may have been one of the toughest things in getting this started. Is it getting the individual to believe that they can make a difference? Is it getting them to believe that they could build a community that can feed them and making a difference? As you look back over your career in this work in community development, what piece of this, or believing that you could make a difference in those who make a difference, what do you think might have been one of the biggest barriers for you in doing this great work?
Yeah, thank you so much for your observations, and it's so encouraging to hear that.
It's true.
There's so much that you've learned from this, and also that we can be part of what you are building here.
I need you to be. We need you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for that. And I can assure you, I don't think I can make a very good political person because I'm very controversial. So I'd rather support the masses to get to that.
A lot of ours are controversial.
I'm still with you. Yeah,
Good.
I'm still with you here. So the most difficult thing to do with a person who's been beaten left, right, and center is for them to arise and believe in themselves. And again, the most successful thing to do is to get the person to believe in themselves. And so I love the self-help group concept because it believes in the agency of the person. So they are the drivers. And as an implementer, you're supposed to give them the stick. So they need to lead. And so you need to follow, because every person should come and unlock and understand their purpose. And just for them to get to that space, we've lost our identity, and things make us lose our identity. And that's why things can never be sustainable. So if we're going to do sustainable development, if we're going to do sustainable or even attain transformation, it's when the people own the dream. You cannot dream for another person.
Oh, that's powerful right there.
You cannot dream for another person. And so getting the people to, again, get to a place where they can dream again, dream for themselves, and dream for the environment they want to thrive in, then they'll get and make realistic goals. And all you need to do is to accompany them, and you become a structure of accountability. So when you are a structure of accountability, you walk alongside and just question them. So we said so much and so much, and where are we at? Because they are the ones who dreamed. Then they take the responsibility to correct what needs to be corrected or to push what they need to push. And so when we go, Zimelewetu is a presence that accompanies people. We are like a mirror. You know, when you go to a mirror will never tell you, but it speaks. But you judge because you desire the image that you want to see. So the trainings that we take them through is a mirror. So what are the assets? What do you have in your hands? And then they look because they can see for themselves. They start counting, and the mirror will tell you again, can you look again? And how do you adjust to get that image that you want? And so we want the people to dream their own dreams and shape them into what they want, because that is what is sustainable. And that is what is going to affirm them, and that is what is going to make them do, because there's an image which they feel, not what they've been told. It's what they see about themselves. And so economically, socially, what community do they want? So they'll be dreaming. You know, when you visited the clusters, they'll be dreaming, here, this is what we want. We want to have this. You just want to find out for what? And then they'll tell you, because sometimes some of the things that people have, another person's dream would not be realistic to you because you do not understand. But when you humble yourself and listen to the people, then you can accompany them better.
I love it.
Give them an opportunity to hear. And so the bottom-up approach is whatever policies you're making, consult and see, just put a mirror to see whether the poor or whoever you want to uplift is seeing themselves in that policy that you're setting up.
Because they won't support it.
They won't support it, and they won't participate, and you'll always be beating them for not participating because it's not coming from them. They don't see themselves. You have to allow people to be visible in what is being planned. And so the moment you do that, then they will arise and build.
Yes, they will. Wow. Dr. Audrey, when you're here in the United States, do you realize that your model is far above what most of us are doing?
I'm learning.
Well, you need to.
About that.
I'm curious, with all of this wisdom, do you find that when you're in America, that when people find out that you're from Africa, do you feel like American people pity you, like, you're from Africa? Like, with all of the stuff that you're doing, all the stuff that you could do to help churches, nonprofits, organizations, like you walk around with this information that could just turn these situations around. Do you feel some of the smugness of American people in thinking, well, now that you're in America, well, we have things right, and we have, $12 coffee, and we have all these specialized teas and things, and I bet you it's hard for you to go back to Africa after eating all of this processed food. Do you can just blink twice if you don't want to say it so that your donors don't hear you. But do you run into some of that? Do you feel some of that arrogance in the West when you hear like, we have something for you?
Yeah, thank you for raising that. Because I've worked not only here in the US, but I've worked in situations where I'll start with racism. Mm-hmm. And also the gender disparities, where I spoke about being a daughter. In a patriarchal system, I'm supposed to be silent, and my immediate young brother is supposed to take leadership. But the way that I was affirmed by my father makes me arise. And so,
yes.
and that is very controversial in my context, because I believe I've got the wisdom to speak into a situation, because
oh yeah, you do.
I'm positioned by birth. That's my birthright, and I won't allow culture to take it away from me. When my dad passed on, I was 19, and I led my family, and I remained the head of that family, whether culture accepts it or not. I was destined to lead the family. And so I would have people want to speak about it, uncles who never contributed anything when I was growing up. And then I'm like, not because I resigned, but if they came to dialogue, we can dialogue. But where they become to belittle, then they cannot take away that. Mm-hmm. So it's believing in the God-given abilities.
Yes.
So the God-given abilities would place me into a seat that I need to sit in. It's not color. It's not because of my gender. It's not because of anything that can take away. And that's the same posture that I take to the work that I do. The women are breadwinners in their homes.
Yes.
Not in an arrogant way. They just have to do it because that's a seat where they are. And they can also participate because the door has opened and they need to stand up. I think when you meet the women, even to present, they cannot speak English to you, but they could communicate in where they are at.
Yes, they did.
So I've found myself in places where, yes, you can, people like, they think they're more developed than I am. Yes, a little bit it can get at me, but then I don't allow that to sit with me, because I've come to realize what God has put in me, but not in an arrogant way. I'll arise. And certain spaces, even this platform of talking to you,
yes.
I wouldn't just stand on my own, but because of so many people that affirm me, I feel I'm supported enough to stick and to the mission and spaces where God allows me to go to. And you affirm me.
Yes.
I work with people that surround me who affirm me, and I stay there. And I cannot be intimidated by what people think about me as long as it's not correct. And I feel I've checked. It's nothing that I've done that is negative, but it's their perception. So people's perception cannot stop me. And I want to encourage other people as well to say, yes, circumstances, diseases have spoken negative and have done negative to you, but don't accept the labels, because that is the worst enemy that can, for you to thrive, you own a dream. And so if you accept the labels, then the dream won't thrive.
Oh, you know what, Dr. Audrey, I'm going to end right on that because that's so doggone powerful. Wow, if you own the labels, then the dream will die.
Yes.
In order to thrive, you can't accept that. Listen, I really appreciate your time being here. I hope you don't mind, but my team is going to put a link to your ministry, your foundation, so they can find out more about it, but also links on how to donate. I want folks who are listening to this to click on that, become a partner, donate. We're getting ready to take another team of Black women this fall. You'll get a chance to talk with her later about that. And then Pastor Una wants to bring another group from the church early next year because we've just fallen in love with South Africa and the work that's going on there. So if that's all right with you, we're going to put a link and we're asking people to click it, contribute, learn more, because you are helping to change the world. Listen, let me just also say, check out our new public-facing group on Facebook. I want you to join the conversation or just take a look at what others are talking about. It's meaningful, and it's how you take the podcast from just listening to it one time and making it more tangible and more accessible. I want to thank my wonderful team who come alongside me to make sure that this podcast is as good as it is. I'd like to thank Eli Steenlich and Jeremy Holliday, who produce and edit the show meticulously. Don Thornton, who secures our great guests. Ariana Proctor, who curates and moderates the listener space. And Jakisha Hunt, who handles our wonderful podcast merch. And finally, I want to thank all of you who support the podcast, who have clicked the Patreon link and support what we do. For as little as $2 a month, you can become one of my Patreon supporters, and it helps to maintain the quality and the integrity of this podcast. And in these times where people are afraid to speak their voices, to talk about race, to talk about leadership, because this podcast is not supported by the government, it's supported by you. So special kudos to my Patreon partners. Because of you, I'm able to do what I do. And please keep doing what you do. And others, click that link and come on in and help as well. And to all of you as listeners, lean in. This is great information. You've got someone you want to share this with. Repost it, write a comment, share it with someone. But don't just keep this to yourself. If you really want to be a part of the change that we all want to be a part of, do something with this episode, do something with that link, and let's be a part of change together. My special guest today has been Dr. Audrey. She has been fantastic to talk to, fantastic to work with, and I know that you're going to be intrigued as you click these links and support her work. You'll be intrigued by what she's doing. Have a great day, and thank you so much for your support of Black Like Me podcast with Dr. Alex G.
Black like me. Black like me.
I want to thank you for taking time to listen to this episode of Black Like Me podcast with Dr. Alex G. If you like that opening track of our theme song, you can show your appreciation to Corey Saffold, who created that and produced it, and Marcus Fleming, my cousin, who's on vocals. I also want to say that this podcast was started with the generous support of the Human Family Unity Foundation, and so we always want to stop and thank them for that. For the many patrons who support us through our Patreon page, thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't just listen, but you support, you lean in, and you help this podcast to be what it is. And then I need to thank you, the listeners, who make a point of downloading this, listening to it, and sharing it. Without all of you, this podcast would not be what it is and what it's becoming. Thank you so much.